about fourth quarter iBuyers in the Atlanta market, and the data was really interesting. So I wanted to share the slides so we could discuss it a little more. Certainly want to get Holly's feedback on it and Lori's feedback on it as well, as far as what's happening, because it feels like we saw what the third quarter was, or it might have been second quarter last time we shared this information, and it seems to have been shifting. So I just wanted to go through these 8 slides real quick. And then, okay, so iBuyer trend performance. What is y'all's thoughts on this slide and kind of how the change seems to be happening with who is in our market in Atlanta?
Yeah, you know, when I looked at this slide and I went all the way back and I saw that in 2016, knock was really the only one here, and then how aggressive Open Door got over the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like knock is like almost non-existent.
Yeah.
Right now, and I think they were the first ones I heard about too. Then some from OfferPad, and we've always heard Open Door is really is the biggest player in our market, but it seems like Zillow is certainly starting to take hold of part of the market as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And Zillow's got big plans. They want to be in they're already in, you know, the market there, but they want to be in 25 markets by the end of 2020, and I think they're already in 17. So they definitely have big plans of continuing with their increase. And I don't know, I think the thing that for me that's interesting is I did research here in Denver, and what they are doing, they buy homes under, it's not Zillow. So they have an investment group. It's like SP something. I've looked it up. And they'll buy the homes for that. And then when they go to sell them, they're selling them in Denver through Atlas Realty Group. So Atlas Realty Group has over 400 pieces of business. And I went through almost all of them are Zillow purchases that they're now reselling. So they don't sell, but like listed by Zillow. Now, some markets they do. I don't know what they're doing in Atlanta. Do y'all know?
Well, it seems like we're able to pull the data because it is showing as Zillow, I believe. And I know they have a local, you know, they're working with realtors on the sales side. So that's really
so here you won't see anything that says Zillow. Interesting. And I know why they're doing that. And I've been on some calls with some people talking about the shift, the Zillow 2.0, and why, you know, they're completely shifting into a real estate firm, and they're not trying to protect agents anymore. That the guy that was always in charge of that and always promoted that, he's gone. He left. And so it's just, I think people just need to look at, you know, who they really are and just understand, you know, the dynamic of what they're doing and make your own choices on what you do as far as marketing.
Yeah, and I think I've seen in my parents' neighborhood, which they live in Four Seasons in Flowery Branch, there was a house for sale by Zillow, and you know, they had like an open sign and all this marketing looking like it's an open house when nobody's there. I mean, the signs and everything up were for weeks. So they had that kind of open house, open door type of philosophy with marketing with drive-bys too, is what I saw. I've only seen it in their neighborhood though, so I don't know if that's what they're doing everywhere, but it had all these open house signs like come on in for weeks for it. So I don't know if that's part of their strategy.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see, iBuyer breakdown, number of purchases versus the price differential. And this is where I thought it was really interesting with Zillow, is when you look at the average price differential, it seems like they're being pretty aggressive with that. 679 is the average difference, because I think they're just trying to get into the market and develop that aggressive, we're going to pay full price type of strategy. What are y'all's thoughts?
I totally agree.
Clearly.
Yep. When I saw that, I feel like, and I think Open Door did a little of that in the beginning, where they were a little bit competitive. And now I definitely see how Zillow is definitely just trying to get their foothold. That's kind of their strategy. You know, they're going to do that. And I think in the markets that they're not in, that they can still, get agents to buy in to them and get the referral fees from leads. They're going to continue to do that to probably fund a lot of, the market entry that they're trying to do.
So how do you think the average agent should market this to their clients? Because to me, my thought is, and what we've always said is, sure, you these are options for you, but if you do even look at the average for Zillow, it's only $679, but the max price difference is $42,000. So we need to make sure you're not the $42,000, if this is going to be an option you want to consider.
Yeah, and I think, Lori, like what we were talking about in the webinar is I would do a huge offering. I would have a really good ad created that really talked about, because there's 3 major factors that determine home value. I would be happy to come in and show you just how under market value your offer was from an iBuyer, and I'll do that with no obligation.
Right.
Like just offering and not telling them what the 3 factors are. But I can tell them this, whatever offer they give you on the internet, it's never going to come out higher. It's never going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
It's only going to go down when they get there or stay the same. Like maybe you don't have repairs, but I've never seen one where they said, oh, we were going to give you, we said we'd give you $228, but actually now that we're here, we're going to give you $240. I mean,
yeah.
And that's because they don't take into account the 3 major things that realtors can do when you're physically at the house. And you just don't tell them what those 3 things are so that they are like, what am I leaving on the table? Like they can't, because originally I was going to say, I'll analyze your offer and let you know if it's above value, add value, or below value. But then I was like, well, it's never going to be at or above. Well, Zillow looks like they're trying to, but it's never going to be at or above. So I just want to focus on, let's see how below market your offer was.
Yep.
And so I just think there's so much marketing you could do around it that's easy to get appointments, if nothing else.
And I think there's certainly opportunity. I mean, if they truly do have a great competitive offer, we're not in a transaction business, we're in a relationship business. And how much does that wow your relationship when you're open and honest about it? And then they talk to their friends and say, look, this is a realtor you can trust, that's going to tell you if this is the right move to make or not. Because normally you're going to hear, no, don't do it. But there may be a scenario where they can take advantage. But then that's where you say, hey, do you know anybody else that's thinking about moving that I can look into this for them?
I totally agree. And I think even putting out there are times when the iBuyer route makes the most sense. And I'd be happy to help you evaluate it.
Right.
And if you just say that, people are doing these. Even Lori said her mom wanted to even do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everybody's doing this, especially non-owner occupied properties. And probates would be huge. Expireds, FSBOs, they're all getting offers. Zillow got 77,000 requests to buy a house and they bought 4,000.
And let me tell you something, talking about marketing, I think Open Door, because I haven't seen much marketing from OfferPad. And honestly, I haven't seen direct marketing from Zillow, but I've seen direct marketing from Open Door. Part of that was because I played around in Cloud CMA, even though I said I didn't want a cash offer, but I got solicited. Over the weekend, I got a letter from Open Door and I opened it. On the outside of the envelope, it said updated estimate. And I was like, well, let me see what this is about. And so I opened it and the letter basically said, hey, the values have changed in your neighborhood. Now remember, it's a range that they gave me, but the range had increased. So they're staying on top of it. They're continuing their message and they're continuing to stay in touch with whoever requested anything or whoever's in their database. And when the values are going up, so are their offers, so to speak.
And that reminds me of, we were on I was on a call with the Workman's Success System where Cleve was leading it. And what's cool is they have opportunities for anybody that's involved with Workman to log into these group conversations similar to what we're doing now. And he made a great point about how consistent they are in their marketing and the convenience of it, and why you really need to focus on your top people and reaching out to them monthly, because everywhere they look, there is going to be that advertising of Zillow, Open Door, OfferPad, and it may be that 2 months that you didn't reach out to them that they start thinking. So we have to stay top of mind as much as we can, like Zillow, Open Door, OfferPad, Knock, because they're not going away. They have a full marketing department and they're consistently reaching out, just like you're saying, Lori. So that's part of what their strategy that they shared as well too. I mean, with people that know, like, and trust you, you can't take that for advantage of that and not reach out consistently. So I thought that was a good point that he made in the call that we were on. So, okay, so the next one is county breakdown. And I really thought this was interesting, especially considering our biggest office is in Gwinnett County, where it says that iBuyers are 24% of market share right now. Did that surprise you?
The number of purchases surprised me in Gwinnett, quite honestly. I was like, I didn't look quite too hard at the percent of market share, which I am right now, but I looked at the number of purchases and I was like, wow. Like, I just didn't realize that.
The market share really surprised me.
Me too.
But I'm always like, oh, it's you know, they're out there, but their market share is not that much. That one really shocked me. Like the other numbers was what I was thinking it would be along. So I was really, really surprised on that.
But then look at the max dollar price difference, like in Gwinnett, $53,000.
Yep. Somebody out there lost $53,000.
Yeah. So I feel like maybe that's, I mean, like Gwinnett, I don't know if I'm just looking at it, it just seems like what they've done is, you know, they got their market share in Gwinnett, and now, you know, they're getting big for their britches. So they're offering less and less and less because more people are catching on to it. That's kind of my theory.
Well, and it just, to me, it shows how much opportunity is being lost for the average person is losing $11,000. Is that worth it for a few showings, you know? So I think it's just educating your sphere of influence of who you know, but they certainly have a huge percentage of market share in Gwinnett. So I was surprised by that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the other point too I made earlier was, you know, all the money that these companies are taking out, when a local agent is not involved in the transaction, these companies are feeding shareholders in other states. So even, you know, the money that agents would keep in the community in our normal spending of going to stores and shopping and restaurants and taxes, like all that's being just being sucked out of our own communities. And the values, every time that they keep selling lower, that's bringing down appraisal values. I mean, it's not like it's still in the mix. So I think Gwinnett, you know, I think appreciation rates could be affected by people that just want to do a regular sale. So I think the implications are wide. And I think talking about these and being able to educate, not scare necessarily, but just keep people informed of what this really means for the community as a whole is important.
That's a great point. Okay. Let's see. Top 10 county number of purchases versus average purchase price by county. So I think this is just kind of talking about what the price differential is. Like if you're in Forsyth, you know, they are offering pretty close to what we're seeing in the market as price difference. But if you're in Gwinnett or Clayton, Douglas, DeKalb, you know, you're out of pocket at least $10,000 average. Let's see what that noise is. Anything else you want to add to that? On to the next.
On to the next.
iBuyer purchases versus iBuyer sells. selling to an iBuyer instead of using a traditional agent will cost over $9,000. 60% are sold for $10,000 or more from what they bought from the consumer. The average is 9,000. So I think those Zillow that they're buying at market are probably skewing this a little more, especially since they're growing in the count. But I would expect that to change or rise.
Yeah.
And then they're turning around and selling them pretty quickly too, within a couple months. Average days on market 58. So, okay.
But they're, see, that kind of shows me that they're staying in the lower end. I mean, they're not not so sure that they're really going into the 400s and 500s.
Well, their data stops right around 400.
Yeah. So while it probably it could be a big convenience for everybody, those others that are selling their homes over the 360 here or in the 400s, it's probably not even going to work for them, because it looks like they're just going to stay out of that playground for a while.
Well, and it looks like they're not profiting as much on those.
Yeah.
And what is the easiest price point to sell in Gwinnett County right now? It's probably anything under 250. So the ones where this is the largest gap is actually the ones where those are probably the easiest properties for consumers to sell. That and challenge.
Yeah. Now I know for a while Open Door had a strategy of working with somebody like a new home builder, like Lennar. And, in coming from new home sales myself for a while, your biggest obstacle was somebody that had to sell their house because they couldn't purchase a new one, right? And so Open Door was like, well, we can help with that. But a lot of times behind the scenes, what we would find out is if somebody was trying to, even if they were trying to downsize, say they were coming out of a home that was $450,000 or $599, Open Door couldn't always help. So I think that while it's getting mass appeal, I think it's going to stay concentrated down at a certain price point.
Yeah. I do too. Because they're investing.
Yeah, they're not gonna. It's not advantageous for them.
Okay. So here's a good Zillow example, and I specifically asked them to do Gwinnett County, especially since that is where a huge part of where these iBuyers are at. So the scenario is they purchased a home in August for $237,200, and then they sold it by the end of the year for $256,900. So they made almost $20,000 in just a couple months, and it was only listed for 18 days before it went under contract. So that $20,000 could have been on the original seller side if they had used a traditional realtor. And then the next one, it just shows a price breakdown of that particular home as far as what using a traditional agent versus selling to Zillow netted them. So they're saying that Zillow right now is charging an average of 8% as their service fee. And then they wouldn't have seller concessions. We don't know if they had repairs, but the seller netted $218,224, and then they turned around and sold it for $256,900, which would be what they could sell it for with a traditional agent, with a 6% commission, with a seller concession of 1%. So that's $238,917. So that's how they're out of pocket over $20,000 in just like 3 months.
I wonder, looking at this slide, I wonder the consumer that sold to Zillow in this example, and then Zillow turned around and sold it, for $20,000 more. I wonder if the consumer is going back and looking at that to see. I wonder how many consumers are doing that.
They probably don't.
They probably just move on with their life.
Yeah, but I'm just curious because I'm curious if there are ones, and I'll give you an example. My neighbor did not sell to an Open Door or a Zillow. They sold to a private investor that was calling around on the phone. They did that because she was in a distressed situation. She found out after going through the whole process, she said that they told her they were going to fix it up and resell it. They didn't fix it up. They got it at a really, really below market deal and put it back on the market with just a basic cleaning, and then still sold it a little below market for the neighborhood. And she found out about it and she was so mad. And she just couldn't believe it. But she did her follow-up just to see. But I just wonder how many consumers are doing that. And if they really care. She cared, but she couldn't do anything about it in her circumstance. But, if more consumers were to see that, I wonder if their mind would shift and say, that's a pretty big price tag for convenience.
Yeah, it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you market this because it isn't just about a transaction, it's about relationships. How do we protect Gwinnett County home sellers and educate the people we know and their friends about, there are a few good scenarios with iBuyers, but the majority of the time there's not. And like Holly said, you're taking the economy out of Gwinnett County in a lot of ways. It really does kind of tenfold when you think about that, about if you use a local realtor, somebody you can trust, and then those funds fund things in the community as well versus selling to an investor. And they're not an investor to lose money. Zillow is not going to continue to buy at market price. So I think it is our duty, and we have to think about that as realtors, to educate consumers in our market. Certainly, Gwinnett County is a huge, huge opportunity to help others, to prevent that. Because you think about it, it's somebody taking $20,000 out of someone's pocket.
It is.
It's tough. It's tough to look at sometimes, the data.
And I think, really, like you said, with the relationship, figure out if someone looks at that offer, what is the true convenient? Like, what is it they're trying to avoid? What is it about putting the house on the market? Like, what can we do to help? I mean, average days on market, I think, is very similar for us as it is for them. So it's not so much the speed. If it's, figure out exactly what is their trigger point and see how you can help them. If they're like, listen, I don't want to clean the carpets. Well, could we give them a gift card toward cleaning the carpet? Or can we find service providers that will do a good price for the repairs? Because even if Open Door comes in and says we have to do all these repairs, we'll do them. And they do get good prices on repairs. I mean, I have to admit, but there's no reason that we can't, as a group, find companies that will also give us good pricing, to help them. They're going to pay for it one way or another. So I think really not assuming that everybody just doesn't want to have to show their house, figuring out what is it that is the appealing for that person. And that's where coming in and offering the personal equity assessment report and, offering that from start to finish with them. And everyone's going to be different. But I think everyone has different reasons why. And if we can really find out the true thing for them, do they really think they're going to lose that house, or do they not have the money to do the repairs? Like, really go deep with people. I think that's where we can differentiate ourselves, and maybe we could find solutions for them that Open Door's not going to come and they're not even going to talk to you, let alone try to help you, make more money. So I think it's a huge opportunity, but you got to get the word out. You got to be advertising it. You got to be talking about doing equity assessment reports. Like, I think that's where the shift needs to be, is having these conversations. It's like I said, 77,000 people requested an offer from Zillow last year. That's a lot of people. They got 74, they only bought 4,000 homes. So that means they have 73,000 people they can dribble on.
Yep.
If they're good at marketing, you know what I mean? So I think it's a big opportunity. I think it's a great way for us to get better at our marketing, like you said, with rural workmen, and be consistent and have that budget. And every time you get a commission check, you put 20% into that marketing budget so that you never have a problem staying in front of people. And so I do think there's a lot of opportunity, and we just need to educate. So
Absolutely.
it's kind of exciting. I mean, kind of.
And Holly, to dovetail, you were talking about solutions, you know, because it might not be just that they want the convenience. It might be something else. I mean, I know that there's companies that can come in that will, and you have to be careful of the companies, but there are companies that will come in and do repairs for you and then just get paid at closing. But, you know, you need to find somebody trusted to do that. But, you know, my whole theory, I don't know about y'all, but my whole theory with the iBuyers is that it's not totally a new concept. I mean, like, investors did this many, many years ago. But I feel like the investors then, they were looking for people that were in distressed situations, like their house was going into foreclosure, they got fired from their jobs, they didn't have reserves, so they were helping them kind of out of a bad situation, right? This is a little bit different. I think that, yeah, this still fits that person that's in a distressful situation, but I also feel like it they've also spun the convenience factor in there, so everybody's gotten curious about it.
Yeah, it's great marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've made it.
And I think it's that, like, also with what Holly is saying, it's up to us to make sure to wow our consumers with the experience. And that's where being a professional, being full-time, and really taking care of our customers is what sets you apart, because there's so many that have negative experiences and they walk away. You know, we have so many conversations with realtors that get into the market because they had a bad experience with theirs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that happens more than you'd like to see. So we have to make sure that we are really giving our sphere and our customers the highest level of support. And I really feel like RE/MAX Center realtors do that. And it's from that professionalism. And that's why we have to over communicate how we can help them and be of service. Because if they sit there and think, I don't want to deal with it, I had such a bad experience with my last realtor, it's just not worth the hassle. But when you look at it and say, you know, there's good bad realtors, there's bad realtors, let's see what we can do to really wow you and help you save money, you know, help you actually have a good experience that you walk away and tell your family and friends about, that you brag about. That's where I think the opportunity is to really just wow them. And then there you are. What a rewarding thing to know that every consumer that you're helping right now, every person that sells their home, you are helping them save 5-10% compared to the easy way with an iBuyer. And that's kind of really rewarding when you think about, what could this person do with that $20,000? Is it send their kid to college, their family on vacation? It's just really awesome to think about what you can do to help them.
So true.
All right. Well, thank y'all for your time and your last minute. I got the report and I was like, I need to share this, but we need to discuss it because it is a lot of great information. So we'll be sharing the slides with RE/MAX Center agents. And if you need any help, have any questions, Lori and Holly will be happy to help you, and myself as well. Okay?
Yeah, this is great information.
Yeah.
All right.
Love it.
Thank y'all. Hope you have a good
day. Thanks.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.